Hey, welcome back to Pathfinder. I did some playing on my own, different character. I was doing a lawful evil monk just to try out the whole evil side of things. So I am excited to get back into my goody two shoes character and do a lot more dialogue because we left off this tavern with a lot of people to chat to. So let's go back to Lon. What do you think of life on the surface? It must be very different from life underground. And I apologize, I probably have forgotten all the voices.
The hand of discipline.
Hoss00312, thank you for following.
Thank you,
We brought you to the stream. Of course, as far as living conditions, the surface is definitely a better place to be. It's easier to get good food and water, not to mention build a house, and even grow a few things. In older, well-established settlements, you don't have to deal with anything scarier than rats, or maybe foxes stealing a chicken. As for the kind of lives you have, I heard a story about demon worshippers abducting a whole family and sacrificing them one by one while others watched. This is far too cheerful of a voice I'm doing for this. But there were some brave Crusader knights nearby, and they killed the villains and saved everyone. And I heard another story. A young blacksmith lost his arm in a fire, couldn't work to feed his wife and baby. They tried their best and lived from hand to mouth, but they were still destitute. In the end, the desperate blacksmith robbed a traveler on one night on the road. There were some brave Crusader knights nearby, and they caught the robber and threw him in prison. Not long after, his wife smothered their baby and hanged herself. Jesus fucking... What a way to start a stream! Holy moly! I was just like, oh yeah, let's just hop in and have some nice fun Pathfinder. And the first thing I'm describing, in Lon is always Cavalier, so I have to do it in a nice Cavalier voice, is that. Alright. Up here, the same person can proudly say he's protecting the innocent from demons, and they look the other way while the same innocent starves just because they were born into a poor family. Queen Galfrey prolongs her life with sun orchid elixirs that cost enough to feed an entire city. Back in our caves, everyone is equally poor, and if one person starves, the whole tribe starves. We don't abandon our own in times of trouble. That's the power of a tribe. The laws of the surface are made so that some get everything and others get nothing. I might just be a naive fool from the caves, but I don't understand how it's possible to have so much more and share so much less. Little too real, but yes, I feel you. Anyway, look who I'm talking to. You must know life on the surface much better than I do. Let's see. I'd never leave a needy person in trouble. I've been given more than most, which means I'm now more able to help others. That's not my character. My character's a bounty hunter, man. Chaotic is more fitting, though. Oh yes, I have a few questions for our feckless aristocracy. But I guess I'll have to wait until we drive the demons back into the abyss and close the world wound. Lan smiles his strange half-smile, which breaks along the border between the two sides of his face. At the end of the day, the world is full of injustice, but it's also full of mad beasts ready to tear us to pieces. You said you were prepared to risk your life to do something meaningful. What exactly did you mean? To invent a new salad and have it named after me, Lan remarks grimly. To invent a new salad and have it named after me, Lan remarks grimly, then he sighs. Truth be told, I don't know. It would be much easier if all I really wanted was to kill demons. Then a few more demons, then more demons after that. Good honest rage and no needless brooding. I think I actually envy the warriors who can live like that. But I can't. If life's taught me anything, it's that there are no easy choices. Dying a glorious death isn't enough. Some heroes of the Crusade did that and also saved entire settlements, erected the wardstones. Their actions kept the land of Mendev safe for decades. That's what I want. For my dumb, short life to have meant something. You think I have an exaggerated opinion of myself? Some scaly freak claws out of the caves and wants to take control of the wardstones and flaunt Iodame's banner? Any fool can charge out the front lines of the demonic armies and die there. But what good will that do? I want something meaningful, you know? Even if I have to pay the highest price. Especially if I have to pay it. There are plenty of worthier people who need to survive this war and tell everyone else what nutcases we were. Very, very intense, but, you know, hell yeah, man. I'm right there with you. Well, let's go over and talk to Sela, our feckless paladin. Sela smiles at you warmly. Hey there. During that march through the dungeon, we never got the chance to get a proper meeting. It's high time I shake your hand. I'd like to get to know about you more. Of course, ask anything, I'll answer honestly. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? I'm a little bit from Gab, a little bit from Katapesh, but mostly from the Knights of Ioname. I was accepted and began my training at 14. I belong to their ranks more than I belong to any other place. You've come to Mendev by a long road, haven't you? A very long one. Sela looks at you cheerfully. A traveler is expected to have amusing stories. Unfortunately, I only have 3 tales of interest. I'd like to save them for our next feast. Otherwise, I won't have anything to show for myself when it's time to start bragging. And that just won't do, especially since I'll win the night with my cautionary tale of a battle with chupacabras. Interesting that chupacabras are a real thing in this game. You can't tempt me with a story about fighting chupacabras and not follow through. What are chupacabras, by the way? Incredibly repulsive magical beasts, fast and dangerous. They can... Well, it looks like someone fooled me into sharing the tale. I guess now I'll have to tell the whole story. Picture a small town in Kadira, and down in the dungeons there's 2 murderers waiting to be executed. The gallows are already built for them. The rope's been bought. But sometimes life takes a surprising turn. Suddenly, a paladin of Ioname appears in the doorway and offers the murderers a deal. If they go with her to fight some monsters, they live. If they survive, that is. There's a big difference between imminent death and probable death, with a glimmer of hope, wouldn't you say? So here we are, traveling through the desert, me and my friends, a priestess of Sarenrae. Oh, Sarenrae. I know Sarenrae is a D&D goddess, because Pike from Critical Role has that as her goddess, so... Interesting. Along with their little rat folk fellow who asked for our help, and 2 cutthroats. We get to the rat folk village and saw their bodies laying around, all drained dry. We figured we'd have to fight vampires. That's how the little rat folk described the monsters who were attacking their village. That's why we went in all brazen-like. The sun was high. Vampires couldn't attack until dusk. But we never stood a chance to look around. Black shadows, quick as the wind, attacked us from all sides. Not vampires, but chupacabras. One of the lads we pulled from the gallows got killed right away. The second one ran for his life. That left me, the rat folk, and Kira. That was the name of the priestess. And we all steel ourselves to fight for our lives. And just when we thought the end had come, the chupacabras surrounded me like a pack of dogs around a bear, and our rat folk friend wounded and down, and the teeth of the quickest of those blasted monsters was clenched around Kyra's shoulder. Right then, when all hope was lost, the other lad from the gallows suddenly comes running back. He kills the beast attacking Kira. I'm sure you know that a turning point in a fight looks like. Well, this was it. A moment before we were lost, and a moment later we had it back under control. The chupacabras dropped dead one by one. The little rat folk is reunited with his family, who were hiding in a basement. The priestess and I closed the eyes of that boy from the gallows who saved us. It was a shame he didn't survive the fight. May the gods keep his soul in its journey through the afterlife. That's a good story. He could have died in disgrace on the gallows, but instead he died a hero. And I'd fancy the sun earned him some points in his final judgment. It's smart to remember our journey doesn't end in death. Had it not been for that mercy, Milos, that was his name, would have been hanged from a noose, and me, Kira, and all the rat folk would be dead in that village. Someone told me that a kind deed done in an unkind person is 100 times more precious. By the same token, an evil done by a noble soul is 100 times more horrifying. That's what I really wanted to say. Chupacabras were just a good starting point. What made you become a paladin of Ioname? I mean, that's quite the path you took. Sela's gaze sharpens momentarily, then she sighs. That's a serious question, and a good one. You should ask it of your companions, but it's a long story. To start with, 12 years ago, I was nothing like the person I am now. I roamed the streets of Solku with the other homeless orphans. I stole, I fought, I was a hired sword for a bit. Not the proper origins for a paladin, is it? Back then, Solku was a city of orphans, widows, and widowers. Gnolls decimated the city regularly. My parents were among the fair victims. People there heard about new deaths before they finished mourning their previous losses. This is a really, this is a really heavy start. I know it's a game about killing demons and a whirlwind and all this stuff, but Hachi Machi, I came in, starting the stream, 10 minutes ago, and I've already heard about, so much death and destruction. One day, a group of knights of Iotame brought a glimmer of hope to the city, but while others saw them as saviors and protectors, I was busy pricing up their noble horses and their gleaming mithril armor, wondering just how much one of their pretty swords would fetch. A thief lives one day at a time, that's what they say. I was the type that never thought past the next job. Anyhow, I was able to sneak into the knight's camp and steal one of their mithril helms. Sela pauses, her voice sad and measured, and I was right there when a gnoll attacked the helm's owner. Akemi was her name, and dealt a blow to her unprotected... Oh, yeah, that was a weird sentence. And dealt a blow to her unprotected head. A gnoll like all the others, she fearlessly driven from the gates of Solku. That one blow was fatal, but who really was to blame for her death? The gnoll attacker or the young thief named Sela? Life is cruel and full of chaos. Sometimes survival just comes down to luck. So that's how you see it. Sela looks at you with curiosity, but not hostility. I can't accept that point of view. If the story of my youth taught me anything, is that we're all accountable for our actions. It's too easy to wave off responsibility if you use the cruelty of life as an excuse. I have to use the cruelty of life as an excuse. I mean, I roam the lands in search of fortune. I've seen how cruel life can be. There's no path or gateway through it. But you were asking what brought me into the ranks of Iotame's warriors. We all choose the Paladin's path for our own reasons. Some are guided by nobility of spirit, some by a desire to fight injustice. I became who I am through penance and debt unpaid. The day Akemi died protecting my city, I wanted to kill myself for the terrible guilt I felt. But then I realized it would have made the world any better. And I decided that instead I'd try to take her place. I'd become who she had been, and protect the innocence that she would no longer be able to protect. What are the principles that Paladins of Iotame follow? Sela smiles. I'll tell you, I like to recite our code. It feels like I've said it 1,000 times, but it'll never get old. There's strength in these words. After a pause, she begins, her voice slow and meditative. I will learn the weight of my sword. Without my heart to guide it, it's worthless. My strength is not in my sword, but in my heart. If I lose my sword, I have lost a tool. If I betray my heart, I have died. I will have faith in the inheritor. I will channel her strength through my body. I will shine in her legion, and I will not tarnish her glory through base actions. I am the first into battle and the last to leave it. I will not be taken prisoner by my free will. I will not surrender those under my command. I will never abandon a companion, though I will honor sacrifice freely given. I will guard the honor of my fellows, both thought and deed, and I will have faith in them. When I doubt, I may force my enemies to surrender, but I am responsible for their lives. I will never refuse a challenge from an equal. I will give honor to worthy enemies and contempt the rest. I will suffer death before dishonor. I will be temperate in my actions and moderate in my behavior. I will strive to emulate Iotame's perfection. And then immediately, thanks, that's all I needed to know, bye! I hope I didn't bore you. Ask me something else if you like. That was one dialogue option. Alright, Sela. Irabeth said your friend Johanna Aldori is missing. Do you know where we should look for her? Irabeth is worried about her fighters. I understand that. I wanted to look for Jana myself, so I didn't distract you. But since you're in this too, I could use some help. Is it Jana? Janana? John and I met in Canabras a few days ago and just hit it off. We went drinking together. We went to the unforgettable celebration together too, but we got separated in the crowd. So we should start looking for the main square. That's where I last saw her. Sela frowns. Jana's a good fighter, even if she is green. She wouldn't have become an Aldori otherwise. I hope that means she's alright. What do you think of what's going on in Canabras? Oh, little update on my quest. It's complete chaos. It's lucky we're here to handle it, right? Seela smiles broadly, then she gives you a worried look. Does the way I talk bother you? I know I can seem a bit blasé. Many good people, and our solemn protector Terendelev died here in Canabras. A paladin of Iotame is expected to be properly respectful and solemn. But I prefer to face my troubles with a smile and a bit of common sense. Grief is a weapon they'll use against you. It can undermine a warrior's spirit. It's better we hold off on grief until we're driven the last demon and cultist out of this city. I'm not bothered by how you talk. What matters is how you fight. A little bit disillusioned. I like that. It's kind of in my character's vein. Is fighting demons all you want, or are you looking for something more? How about covering myself in glory and becoming a hero of 100 ballads? Or at least a dozen, if they're lively ones. Seal's eyes shine cheerfully. Anyway, to be more serious, the area around the Whirlwound is the best place for a paladin who wishes to defend the weak and serve good. Being part of the crusade is reward enough for me, but there's something that worries me. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing my brothers in arms, but the Eagle Watch and the other orders are focusing on just one aim, the war against the Whirlwound. That's why they can sometimes overlook the smaller things. Ordinary misfortunes, you know? I always liked being a wandering knight, because any moment I could get up and go help a poor rat folk whose family had been kidnapped, or an old woman whose favorite dog had gone missing. So, here's my answer. I don't have some big, important goal, but I'll be happy to help those who need it. A little bit here, and a little bit there. Thanks for speaking with me. Until next time. See you. Alright. One second, I'm gonna move my fan. Alright, Mr. Hildor. A tall, athletic man greets you. His hair is prematurely gray and shorn close to his head in a military style. He is lean and well-groomed, and a monocle... It does not. You do not have a monocle in your picture. And a monocle twinkles coldly in his eye. The bold set of his jaw and his large but agile frame attest that here is a man who is always ready to be on the move. Greetings. I'm Hilor, not Hildor. Hilor, venture captain of the Pathfinder Society. I am the superior officer among Pathfinders in this region of Mendev. However, the Society is running almost no operations here right now. Besides me, there are almost no Pathfinders here. Actually, I'm only stuck here because an old feud with a demon worshipper known as the Spinner of Nightmares. Holy shit. I've had to work alone without the supports of the Society, but I've made a lot of acquaintances among the local mercenaries and daring fighters. If you need any good fighters for an honest cause, talk to me. So I guess he's there to recruit NPC followers. Tell me about your confrontation with the Spinner of Nightmares. It all began with the task of Pathfinder Society. I arrived in Narrowsand with my team to investigate the sudden death of a famous crusader, Baron Falron. We soon focused in on a small hospital for the wealthy, where Falron was being treated shortly before his death. It turned out a gang of Baphomet's cultists calling themselves the Labyrinth of Mind had gotten a foothold at the hospital. It's like being shotgunned information. They were obsessed with twisting the minds of their victims and targeted fragile people too weak to resist. The hospital was filled with perfect victims, isolated for weeks from the outside world, completely helpless, and when they returned they were different, almost normal. But the moment they heard a certain phrase, something dark awoke in their mind. They transformed into the servants of Baphomet, ready to lie, betray, and even kill. So they're sleeper agents, basically creating demonic sleeper agents. That's pretty horrifying. The Labyrinth of Mind was prepared to infiltrate the all-elite circles of Mendev, but Baron Falron stopped them. He was too loyal to his oath and too resistant to their spells. He fought for his freedom until the strain broke his heart. We opened and cleaned the city of Baphomet's pit of vipers. Their den was a cradle of sin and filth. They cast spells on each other, and their loathsome fantasies steeped real life from their minds into the world. They dreamt of horrible and forbidden things, and they fought like mad. We burned the place to the ground and slaughtered everyone we could, but the leaders of the cult were able to flee, and they were set upon revenge. They abducted my daughter, Lori, who served under my command in the Pathfinder Society. They left me a note full of tart insults, mockery, and sneers. From that note, I learned the name of my enemy, the Spinner of Nightmares. A few months later, I confirmed that she was the leader of the Labyrinth of Mind. My hunt had begun. I would get Lori back at any cost. Hiller grits his teeth with a bulldog determination. Can someone just have, like, a backstory that's like, yeah, man, I just want to, like, fight demons? Why has everyone got to have this horrible, sad backstory? I want to know more about you. What exactly are you interested in? I'm a common Pathfinder. There are many others like me. Fate and my order brought me to this land. How'd you end up here? Just asking that. I was working on an assignment for the Pathfinder Society, and then a demon worshipper named the Spinner of Nightmares abducted my daughter, Lori. For the past 3 years, I've been trying to save her. During this time, I've become a specialist in scouting demon territory. I've even planted agents among the cultists. Truth be told, in pursuing the Spinner of Nightmares, I've been acting more on behalf of Queen Galfrey than the Pathfinder Society. It's a long story. Maybe I'll tell you the rest of it sometime. Hiller frowns grimly. The Spinner of Nightmares is a true spawn of the Abyss. I fought her many times, but I've never been able to seize her by the throat. Hey, yo, I know your daughter's gone and you're hunting for her, but tell me about her. Is she cute? Hiller smiles, showing his healthy white teeth. As a girl, Lori was just an angel. We lost her mother early on. She was left to follow my example. A drifter with little idea of how to talk to a 10-year-old girl. But even with such questionable parenting, Lori managed to grow into a wonderful girl. Brave, smart, and beautiful. And entirely unbearable. She always argued with me about everything. When Lori was 18 and told me she was going to be a Pathfinder, all I said was, alright. I knew there was no use to try to talk her out of it. And she was a fine Pathfinder. Hiller's fist clenched with a painful sounding crack. I'll never forgive the Spinner of Nightmares for taking my girl from me. Pathfinder Society, let me know about it. The Pathfinder Society is a global organization that unites opportunists and adventurers of all kinds. We explore the world and uncover its secrets, travel and sometimes face down threats. In times of trouble, the latter become our primary focus. We're driven by curiosity and the desire to make the world a better place, and, of course, seek some profit or hunger for glory. But in any case, it's hard work. They might send you anywhere on a mission. Weaklings have little place in the society. It's more for seasoned fighters. There are society lodges in many cities. The closest one is in Narrow Cyan. They're each led by venture capitalists, lads like me. The Grand Lodge in Epsilon, the center of the world, and Jesus, absolute Christ. I can't even. D sits there, the anonymous council of our leaders. I got no more questions. I have to go. Alright. Let's talk to Miss Irabeth. Irabeth rubs her red eyes and her red and tired eyes. Any success? How is the city? What's our main objective? You heard what the demons said. They're going to desecrate the Wardstone and blow up the whole barrier on the World Wound. That would be an even worse disaster than the World Wound's expansion before the Second Crusade. Not only Kenabris, but the entire city, every city with a Wardstone would be destroyed, including the capital. We can't allow that no matter what. We'll retake it, even destroy it if we must. Iomede's gift must not become a weapon of the Abyss. These Wardstones, what are they? They're our greatest treasure, the shield given to us by Ionome herself, and placed in Kenabris and other Mendivian cities and fortresses by her herald. The chain of Wardstones forms a protective barrier that stops the expansion of the World Wound, and keeps the demons from moving beyond its borders. I shudder to think what will happen when the barrier falls. Let's ask a few personal questions, I guess, about your love life. Frowning a little, Irabeth nods. Please, but I must warn you, there are some things I don't have the right to discuss. Where are you from? I was born in Kenabris. I grew up on a farm just outside it, but my way back home lay at the end of a long and winding road. It took me years of traveling through foreign lands before I came to be where I've always belonged. How'd you become a paladin? A bitter smile appears on the half-orc's face. I don't much like to remember it. Believe it or not, the story of how I became a paladin is also the story of how I failed to become a knight. My parents were crusaders, may their souls stand together in Ioneme's celestial army. When I was born, they retired from the war and started preparing me to continue their legacy. But my father was an orc. You'd be pressed to find a calmer, wiser, and more pious servant of the goddess than he. But still, All his life he was dogged by sideways looks and whispers. When I grew older and it was time for me to serve, I decided anywhere but Canabras. That was where my father had served loyally, and his only reward had ever been injustice. Besides, the witch hunters, led by the Honorable Prelate Holrun, stalked the city with a heavy hand. Who knows what they'd done to a strange green girl with green skin. Instead, I went to a smirk that looks more like a painful grimace crosses her face. You can laugh if you want, but I was young and foolish. I chose Lastwall, of all places. You can imagine how well I was accepted in a country that's been battling orcs of Bleskin since its foundation. There were many there like me, but we were all treated as second-class citizens. To the locals, my green skin was worse than leper scabs. Even my brothers in faith kept their distance. I took my vows, and the goddess granted me the powers of a paladin, but even then, not a single order would accept me in their ranks. I spent another 6 months knocking on doors before I realized a simple truth. I serve Iotame, not these people. I don't have to prostrate myself before them, so I left. As a paladin, but not a knight. Oh yeah. You embody Iotame. You don't embody a sect. That's what I like to hear. You must stick like a sore thumb. You must stick out like a sore thumb no matter where you go, right? I know many people envy Asimars, but most of the ones I've known found their celestial heritage to burden. I find it hard to imagine what an unasked for adoration must be like, but I'm sure it doesn't make life any easier or more pleasant. How'd you come to join a knightly order? I left Lastwall and went traveling. The goddess guided me, and my past led me to where atrocities were happening. I often fought in exchange for gold, but never for unworthy aims, of course. I wandered the River Kingdoms for a few years. Hey, that's where I ran on the first game. Killing monsters and tracking down criminals. Sometimes I thought I was just wasting time, that my true place was in Canabras. But I pushed those thoughts away. I didn't even want to think about going back. But in the end, divine providence has brought me to my senses. It happened in Timon. I was tracking a gang of bandits, which my employer suspected was a cover for Rasmirian spies. Man, all these new words. These new fake words. I managed to find their lair, but inside I found something far more dangerous than spies. An unholy temple to Zon Kuthon. When I broke in there, the cultists were about to sacrifice someone, the person who was destined to become my wife, Enevia. But that's another story. After I cut down the cultists, I examined their papers and couldn't believe my eyes. A network of evil cults had spread through all of Avestan, including Mendev. Worse, the documents clearly showed that their allies, the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth, had infested my native Canabras and were even among the ranks of the Paladins. After that, delaying my homecoming would have been tantamount to desertion. Luckily, I was no longer alone. Enevia was as eager to destroy the cultists as I was. A little sip of water. Enevia and I hurried to Canabras. We couldn't trust anyone. The papers indicated that the cultists had infiltrated everything. Luckily, I had some experience in investigation, and my beloved... The half-orc smiles warmly. She knew her way around working locks, tailing people and trading information with the city's bottom feeders. Soon we defeated, alas, not the whole Hydra, but a few of its heads. Do you know who turned out to be the leader of the cultists? The commander of the Eagle Watch. Can you imagine? While Prelate Holrun was chasing witches through the city, the enemy had infiltrated the very order responsible for internal security. The scandal reached the ears of the Queen. At first she planned to disband the order in disgrace, but then she offered its command to me, and put its salvation in my hands. Of course there was one small catch. I wasn't a knight. But I was made commander just the same, skipping the usual progression through the ranks.